to Nerdette's newsstand.
Hello, everyone. We are going to talk about we've got the Depp trial coming up. I will be streaming that live. And we also are going to talk about some other fun stuff, the Disney boycott, the Ezra Miller situation, and the X-Men outrage. It should be super fun. So, let's welcome my guest today, Just Some Guy. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. Was that Five Finger Death Punch?
Hell yeah, I love Five Finger Death Punch.
Okay. And did you actually get Mark Hamill to do the voice?
No, I totally used one of those fake voice modulators.
Okay.
I wish that would be so cool, but no. I use one of those this is awesome website, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's like you can get anybody to kind of it's real touch and go, but you can get like Bruce Wayne or you can get like YouTuber. It's crazy, but yeah, I totally faked that.
Okay.
How are you today, Liana?
I am okay. My Twitch channel is not working, so I just frantically put up a link to your YouTube channel so people could watch. I don't know what's going on with Restream today.
I know. It's being a pain in the ass, and it's being a little bit laggy too, so I hope we're okay.
Yeah, the fun of not knowing whether something's working until you're live. And it's like, do I bail out? Do I start all over again? This is weird. So I just Googled and put up on but based on the stuff we're going to be discussing today, maybe it's good practice for how things could potentially go off the rails in weird and wonderful ways.
Yes, exactly. Saggy, are you there?
What up? Yes, I think I'm here. Hello.
Yes, you are. You don't sound laggy either, so that should be good.
Hopefully. Well, thank you for having me. I love this. This is awesome. Love our streams when we have them together.
I know, they're always so good, right? Like they're the best ones. So, it kind of worked out perfect. I had a list of things that I wanted to talk about today, and we'll get into the more heavy topics in a bit, but like kind of worked out perfect. I seen your video earlier, Just Some Guy. There is this weird outrage going around, and I didn't even do a video on it. I do a video generally on like most of the comic book news, right? Or the new things coming out, da-da-da-da-da. And it was like, people were upset that Jesus was an X-Men. Or, yeah, not really, but like hinted at. And it was this weird outrage, like, how dare they? When actually, I believe Jesus has literally been in as a character with, I believe it was, I can't remember. But he's been a character before. So I was curious what you guys thought about the situation, if you were uber offended. And start with Just Some Guy.
I think if you watch my video, you can tell I was not offended.
Yeah.
I'm an atheist, so it's not going to offend me. But I mean, it's really silly. It's not like they said anything about the religion. They just said that he was a mutant, and that's it. There was nothing else in the book. So I didn't know that this happened because I stopped reading X-Men comic books. Once they got rid of Hickman, I just couldn't take it anymore. All the nonsense.
Right.
Nobody knows what he was planning, and whatever they're trying to fill in is nowhere near as good as what he was going to do, and it was already a mess. So I'm like, I'm done. I'm not even going to attempt to follow this. And I saw this making the rounds, so I'm like, well, let me go and buy the book. So I'm assuming this is like X-Men number 34. No, it's a number 1 because they rebooted the entire line again. So it's only been 2.5 years. They rebooted it again. And then it's, not the entire book. It's a panel. One panel.
Line.
2 sentences, 1 panel on 1 page. I'm like, okay, all right. Y'all lost your minds even more than normal.
And that takes a lot. The funny thing about it is, like I said, we've seen him before, and I can't remember who it was. It was with it wasn't with Johnny Storm, but regardless, it's not the first time he's been depicted in comics. But it was like,
wasn't
kind
it in
of
the 70s?
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah. But it's like, it kind of makes sense if you think about it. Now, I'm again not reading X-Men. I have no interest in what they're putting out right now. I usually stick to DC, but I read a couple Marvel titles. Like Moon Knight's been really, really good. But X-Men just not for me anymore. It was at one time and it's not anymore. But the fact that it was so like one simple line caused people to get so upset about something that kind of made sense. And then they were like, "Oh my god, it's almost Easter. How dare I found the whole thing a little bit ridiculous. What do you think, Liana?
I think mission accomplished. People are talking about it.
Yeah.
They have to know when they do that people are going to knee jerk, and I think Marvel was getting a little bit jealous of all the spilled tea surrounding DC and seeing people act like complete idiots going, Clark Kent's not gay. He's never been gay. It isn't Clark Kent. It's his son. So they wanted a little bit for themselves. I agree. X-Men hasn't been good as a comic in years. And I think anything that gets them the slightest, it's all the earned media Olympics, right? Like, let's get trending on Twitter. Let's bait based on outrage and get a bit of a sales bump, hoping we'll hang on to a few readers, because the people, let's face it, the people getting outraged about it, they're not reading comics.
Right.
They're just people who, the reason it took off is it is a single panel. People can look at it right away and believe they can have an opinion without context. And
context doesn't matter anymore.
No, it's all about getting the right answers for the right team, and I'm just so bored with it.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it is, if you remember a couple years ago, DC did that Second Coming that they ended up canceling, and it actually ended up being a pretty decent book. I can't remember the writer, but
Mark Russell.
Yeah, Mark Russell for me is usually a miss. Like, he's writing One Star Squadron right now, and it's like not good at all. And that book was actually pretty decent. You give characters that he can fuck with, and that don't have this long lineage and lore to stick to, it works out a lot better for him. Like what he did with Snagglepuss and the Flintstones. Like, those actually worked out okay. Mark Russell for me is usually a miss, but that one wasn't bad. But DC actually canceled it, and it had to go to
I remember talking about that. And I thought it was ridiculous. It's like, well, let the book come out, and if people don't like it, they won't buy it.
Yeah.
And it's got a sequel. There's like another follow-up to it. So it's doing well enough at Ahoy to justify publishing it. It was like it was a controversy because nothing actually happened, and they canceled the book.
The weird thing about it to me is, I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible. A lot of the people that are upset about this situation are also the ones that are like, my freedom of speech. My freedom of speech. And it's like, wait. It's my freedom of like, it's my freedom of speech until you say something bad about my team. And then it's like, oh, hell no. We got to get this thing canceled. Yeah. Like, it's kind of, I mean, it happens on both sides, but right now we're seeing it kind of blow up at Disney. There's all like boycotts from both sides. Like, at some point people have to realize it's fucking Disney. There's not much you're gonna do about it. Zaggy, are you there?
Oh, I'm here. I'm just listening because like I'm the last person to ask about things that offend me. I'm not easily offended by like anything, so I don't get offended by much. It's very, very rare that I get offended by anything anymore. I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut because I don't get offended by much.
Yeah, the whole situation is silly. I didn't want to dwell on it, but I just I found it funny and kind of ironic at the same time that we're playing these like censor games. And I've said this for a really long time. Both extremes are censoring everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're getting, you can't talk about God, you can't talk about gays, you can't talk about this. It's a censorship issue on both sides. And right now we're seeing it come out in full-fledged in the Disney situation. And we'll switch over to that because I know Saggy knows a little bit more about it. As of yesterday, there was, what was it you read yesterday, Saggy, about the boycott?
Oh, they were saying it was like a Christian organization that was starting it, and the whole thing about the Don't Say Gay bill, and yeah.
I think it's just really ironic that the right thinks that Disney, which I'm the reason you see that avatar there is because of Disney. I wanted to become an animator because of Disney. So I went to school to be an animator. I know how to animate. I just don't have the equipment to do it. That
Oh
my
wow.
entire thing was I want to work at Disney. I'm old school. I would wash the freaking acetate for the colored cells. If you just let me do that job, I just want to be able to make people cry like they did in The Lion King. I want that power. So I love the animation. Everything about Disney has been relatively conservative for the majority of my life. There
Right.
are very few Disney films that you could even begin to say are left leaning, let alone uber progressive. So I don't know how you look at all of Disney's films. I mean, their virtue signal they cut out of China for the what
Right.
was it, Onward? They cut it out the movie.
Same with
So
Eternals, I think. I
yeah,
think.
yeah, they did. They cut that section out for just for China. Everywhere else it showed. So this is even when they're trying to do the virtue signal, they're not committed to doing it because they want the money more than they want the virtue signal. They want the money. That's all they care about. It's Disney. We all know this.
Yeah.
Like I
And
think everybody's heard the horror stories of what happens when you work at Disney and how Disney just destroys your soul. So so I don't know why anyone's pretending that Disney's got this agenda where their
the
agenda
agenda is
is
capitalism.
but their agenda is they're not committed. That's what everyone's been talking about is that oh you want to have Ray as the main character in your movie and have her be perfect and you're going to showcase her and you're going to have Finn the black stormtrooper, but then when you show the poster in China you cut the black dude out the picture, right? Like we all understand that that's the game that's being played, that they're not actually committed. Now supposedly they're committed because they oppose a piece of legislation. Like we've all been roasting them for faking it. Now we suddenly believe they're not faking it.
Yeah. In fantasy, I die. Thank you so much. Um, most people on both sides of the culture war are Senators Armstrong from Metal Gear Solid. What's your source? I made it the fuck up. Nuance is dead. Thank you so much. In fantasy, I die. Yeah, Nuance has been dead for a very long time. Maybe not in real life, but at least like online, there is no nuance. You can tell by this beautiful chat. Like, right? So the situation with this is like just some guy said, Disney has always shown everything when it comes to princess and princesses. Like that was legit what I grew up with. It was like Aladdin and Jasmine, Beauty and the Beast. It was always love stories. But all of a sudden, when they talk about, saying they have an agenda and going on with that, if it's a gay couple, it's sexualizing children. Like the whole idea is mind-boggling to me to try to state that you think showing gay people is sexualizing children. It is absolutely ridiculous. And yet we've got first off there was a boycott of people that worked at Disney, and I think that was like what, maybe 10 days ago or so, where they had a bunch of people in support. Wait, hold on. Against the bill come out and do a walkout. There was like, I don't know, when I looked it up, there was like maybe less than 100 people. It wasn't a huge, substantial amount. And then now they've got this new boycott going where you've got a bunch of religious people. And I don't know necessarily that I would not generalize it as people on the all the people on the right, but it's the religious part aspect of it that is coming out because Bob Iger doesn't support that "Don't Say Gay" bill. Like,
He's not even at Disney anymore. He's
wait,
gone. Chapek is in charge.
He's the guy that started all the problems for the current CEO, though.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, like that was a cheap shot. That was shots fired, and it worked. And I think Chapek's first instinct was correct. He
Like-
should have stuck to his guns.
And just been quiet.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing was so badly misreported about the political donations, and it is a very easy bill to overturn through the courts. It's very badly written
right.
and too vague. it was the wrong hill to die on. I don't quite know what's going on inside Disney. I've heard mixed things. The challenge with Disney is, it's, let's face it, they make family entertainment, and it's the parental gatekeeping with children, and so I don't even know if you can call them, anywhere on a traditional political left right spectrum. It's just they're in their own lane. You can't even call what they do capitalism. You can't really do what they call socialism. It's basically feudalism. They have a bunch of land in Florida, and they built a castle and collect their own taxes and like have their own government. It's so, no point of reference for anything else. I think that they do more good sort of running a moderate position where they do slip that one normalizing scene in Onward. The Eternals was terrible, so who gives a shit? But having those little things, dropping those little things in, it's an indication of mainstreaming of opinion. And I don't think they can do much more than what they're doing internally. They allowed employees to be openly gay long before it was considered okay to do. So to not call them a progressive company on that, on that pillar, well, they were. Are they keeping pace? Maybe not. But this there's no way to really peg Disney. They're so big. I've never had a bad experience working for Disney. They're one of the better media companies to work for. That being said, some people are treated like crap, and I've heard horror stories, but they're a media company. The thing that's disposable in a media company is its people. So, I think people are setting a bunch of these weird arbitrary standards for judgment, and then coming up with these bizarre theories based on that arbitrary lens. And that's where I just check out and go, this is all theatrics, because the midterms are coming out, but a bunch of politicians want to fundraise. And these politicians are going to make more money off of this scandal than they ever did from the Disney PAC.
Yeah, more likely than not.
Yeah.
Well, tell us how you really feel.
Well,
no.
It's
Go
funny
ahead.
because I predicted what was going to happen every step of the way when they originally said we're staying out of it. I think we talked about this on this stream. I was like, they're going to stay out of it because they don't want DeSantis coming from their special tax status. And sure enough, he threatens that. And I said they should stay out of it because they become this big bad corporate foil, you ain't better than me, culture war stuff if they do get involved. And so I thought Chapek's original position was the correct one. And then he blinked, which is what you never do as a media company. You just create a new news cycle. Netflix did it right. They backed Chappelle all the way, and it went away eventually. This has gone way, way longer than it had to because they were against it before they were for it. Now they're against it, but they're not. And they're fake, but they're not. They're woke. And as far as I'm concerned, the happiest place on earth is truly Disney World now because all the political extremists are allegedly boycotting it. So at least they have to stay quiet if they're at a Disney theme park.
Well, they kind of did this to themselves, though. I mean, in terms of walking themselves into it, if they already knew it was going to be a problem, which seems to be the case, that Chapek knew that this would be an issue, then they could have come out in front of it to at least say, to have some sort of public support for the gay community preemptively, to just sort of.
They tried to do that and it just blew up in their face. They listened to Twitter, which was stupid.
Before it got to the point where the bill passed, that's what I mean, because it didn't really happen. Nothing happened to them until the bill passed. But when this first got its little controversy, because I was going back and forth with people in February, they could have done something then. They could have done something months ago when this was originally proposed.
Right.
Where they could have said something ahead of time, like, we're for everyone and we don't support this. The other thing is, if you're donating to these people and you know what they're about, you might just, I don't know, kind of hedge your bets and understand that all of these folks are politicians As much as you
Yep.
think that you've bought them off, if they think they're going to lose their power, not going against you, they will turn on you.
Oh,
So
they know
you
that.
might want to be prepared for it.
Yeah, they know that. They know they give to everybody. They give to anybody running. They give to Democrats. They give to Republicans. They just say yes to anyone who asks because they don't want the trouble, right? They don't want the bad blood. And that, unfortunately, was not accurately reported, not completely reported by the media. Yes, Disney does give to every Republican politician in Florida. They also give to every Democrat politician in Florida who asks. So the media created this false binary that
Forbes was
just
good
didn't
with it.
exist.
Forbes talked about because
Forbes did an alright job. You're right.
Yeah, I was looking for more information, and everybody was giving these low numbers, like like $1,000 here, 10. I was like,
Yeah.
they are not donating chump
No.
change.
No.
It's millions of dollars. Come on.
Yeah.
This conversation with you two is friggin' amazing. I'm just saying. I'm taking it all in, and I'm just like, these two. This is the most quiet I've been on a panel since I started YouTube. So yeah, please continue.
Yeah, we haven't done any like bodily function jokes yet, Saggy. It's a super serious stream tonight.
Well, we're only 25 minutes in, and
That's true.
I've yet to get feisty, so I mean, there's still time.
But what amazes me out of all of this is not even the Disney stuff. This fucking chat. Like, is anyone else like? I'm blown away that people are. Oh my. Let me get this super chat before I stick my foot in my mouth. It's annoying to see people assume that all the bad seeds in the LGBT community, those that want to turn everyone gay, represent the majority. So wrong. But that's the thing. Those people, just like extremist people on the right, they're very few and far between. They're not going out there and talking to your kids on the, like, this whole bill, okay, it was a fucking virtue signal. Let's be real. Like, I know we're talking about Disney, but this whole bill really wasn't even needed. It was a publicity stunt when we've got bills like in Tennessee that you literally can, like, the bill in Tennessee is so much more strict. You can't talk, like, if, Timmy has 2 dads, you cannot mention that.
You can't even mention that they exist. That was how I found out about this bill, by the way, the Florida bill, because I'd seen this one in Tennessee. I forget how I stumbled onto it, but I found it. I found the actual listing on their website, and I read it, and I'm like, I know my legalese is rusty, but does this shit say what I think it says?
Exactly.
And so I read it like 4 times. I read the Senate version. I'm like, oh my God, they're actually. So if I remember the language correctly, it's that you are not allowed to have any school materials that
classroom
condone.
Yeah.
Right. Condone, support, endorse, or address. And that's the problem. Address gay, lesbian, transgender, or bisexual people. So plain English, if you wanted to talk about Alan Turing, you can't mention why he committed suicide.
Right.
Like this, you can't talk about anything from ancient Greece because
that's
good
right.
God, right? Like this is absolutely absurd to say that you can't talk about a group of people's issues. How do you talk about American history and get to the 80s and you start talking about the Reagan administration and don't mention the AIDS crisis and how that came about? Like, do you not talk about the AIDS crisis?
That's
right.
Ignore this?
You don't. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. It's exactly what they did circa No Child Left Behind with the first quote unquote sanitization of textbooks that eliminated some racial references to US history. That is exactly the plan. Now, the problem is that, and it's already happened in Florida, that someone is saying they're not going to teach about heterosexual families anymore because it says we can't.
Well,
we can't reference families.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I said they should do.
I haven't said a goddamn thing. How dare you throw me in there?
That's a lot of this. It definitely doesn't say you can't talk about gay people, but this is what it's aimed at, and it's pretend like it's not. And then everybody comes through, and I seen a lot of it earlier. Have you read it? Yes, it's only like 9 pages. Not that hard to read.
I'm asking the unpopular opinion here.
Well, can I just say one thing first, Saggy?
Yeah.
The interesting thing to me is where the Florida bill started and then where it landed. And to see the different drafts and how this bill was brought up because DeSantis was trying to prop up his primary season numbers, right? And you watch the bill just evolve through multiple drafts from the point that it was actually something that they might have been able to stand up against a constitutional challenge or just basically a logic check into something that is just sort of well, they voted and they got it passed and he signed it, and that was the point, and it's a win-win for Florida Republicans because now some activist court is going to overturn it and they'll get another round of fundraising out of it.
I love how it's like, oh, this is only for 5-year-olds, when if these people had read the bill, it's actually, the language is actually terrible. Like, it says primary school, but then it says or any age appropriate, which means whatever the fuck we want.
I wonder why they didn't get the same people who wrote the critical race theory bill to write this one. Because
that one was not that long ago.
So I gotta give my hot take.
Yeah, sorry, Seth, go ahead.
Because like I know Nerdette heard it yesterday because I streamed about this yesterday, and I do have to say, and I guess this, I just think that when it comes to the topic of homosexuality, but by the way, full disclosure, I am openly pansexual. I think that I don't feel like it is the media or entertainment's job to educate kids in particular about homosexuality. Because I feel like at an early age, like I look at it when I was struggling with my sexual identity, that I didn't look at entertainment to educate me. Like that, I felt like my parents or I discover it on my own, because I think when you're a kid, you're already going through so much with your puberty and development that I think that it's not like, I feel like entertainment and all these educations, like they feel like it's their responsibility to teach kids about homosexuality a little too early. Like, let them enjoy childhood before they have to go through that part of their life that is a struggle. And that's why I'm like I don't think that we should just abolish like homosexuality entertainment. Like it's not like the biggest deal. Like, okay, they're gay, so what? But at the same time, I always feel like it's pushed down, especially young people's throats. When they're not ready. Like they're not ready. You know, like in kids cartoons, like I get it. Like I think there should be an age like demographic limit of like where they insert like the I guess education on homosexuality, right? Like I think preteens might be like probably a best way to introduce that, if anything, because like at that preteen age they're already trying to figure out like with puberty and everything. But before that, like when when that guy was bugging out Tristan in my chat the other night, he's like, oh, you're talking about third graders. No, not third graders. I'm talking like at least like middle school years, at least when puberty starts for us, where we are figuring out who we are as our own identity. That's usually when we're figured out. Now, if a kid is like, boy, maybe they're 6 years old, they're like wearing girls' clothes or whatever, like fine. As a parent, I think that's something you deal with. But I don't feel like they need to know what that is at 6 years old. Like figure that out when you get older. Like let them enjoy childhood before they have to struggle with the reality of what being homosexual, transgender is, and that struggle. Like let them enjoy childhood. That's all. That's my main thing, and it's like a pet peeve, because like I think kids should just be kids. Let kids enjoy youth before they have to get into this world, realize how dog shit it is, and have the struggles. Let them just enjoy being ignorant and children. That's basically what I feel.
Okay, but what do you do if a kid has two moms or two dads? Do you just act like that isn't a thing?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's fine to have like TV shows that so it makes them feel normal, right? But we don't have to emphasize on it just to make them feel normal, right? But if they have two parents, I feel like those two parents have already prepared them for that.
Not all parents.
Not all of them. It's
tough.
But
a lot of times when it comes to LGBTQ youth, like more than a quarter of them depend on school to have a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but the parents should be telling their kids these things. They should
be. In a perfect world, but a lot of parents should not exist. They shouldn't be parents.
Amen.
That's the
I agree.
problem with
It
Amen.
is Florida.
Amen.
Sorry. Cheap
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah, right. It is Florida. Amen to that. You're right. But I mean,
Like-
that's what I mean. If we want to educate, instead of educating these kids before they're ready, how about we do more to get these parents to understand what homosexuality is and transgender is, so they are prepared to deal with it if their kid happens
because our
to be like that.
education sucks, and what you're doing
Yeah, that's
is
true.
is in essence censoring education, just like with the whatever the woke bill was not that long ago. It makes it to a point where if somebody has an issue and they need to talk to somebody, they can't without that fear of what if their parents don't, what if they are strictly Catholic, what if their religious beliefs are different, what if they are fucking terrible parents, and if they say something, they go home and get their ass beat. Not every situation is perfect when it comes to parents. There are a lot of parents out there that should not have reproduced. Let's be real.
Oh, trust me, I know that. Trust me.
and
I'm
those
still
are-
questioning why my parents birthed me. I'm trusting. Trust me, I get it.
Those are exactly the parents that have more power thanks to this bill in Florida, because
Yep.
that was the meat of it, the fact that you have to tell parents if kids are doing something allegedly abnormal in school. It's like the complete flip of what was going on in the 90s where I was in school, because um the whole thing of can a teenager get a pregnancy test without their parents' permission? Can they get an STD test without their parents' permission? And it was, ironically, the thinking at that time is no, you let them do it discreetly so they don't get beaten at home.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas now, no, parents' rights, unless a parent wants to take their trans kids to the doctor, then the state should intervene. That's my issue with the whole thing. They are talking out both sides of their face regarding parents' rights. When it's gay kids, oh, parents have all the rights. Parents should be the ones making the decision. But when it's a youth that may be identifying as trans or gender nonconforming, oh no, then the state has to come in and stop grooming. Which is it?
Yeah.
Well,
And the
it's
fact
not.
that it's called
just a religious
anti-grooming is
nonsense.
literally sorry. I just gotta say this. The fact that it's called anti-grooming is putting the fucking idea that the LGBTQ community is groomers.
Well, that was always
Come
the
on.
intent. That's what this is really about. At the end of the day, that's what they were trying to get to, and they were trying to do it through a very circuitous method, because they lost the battle when the Supreme Court decided that gay marriage was illegal everywhere, and they have not recovered. We're 7 years out, almost a couple of months, and they have not recovered, and they're still pissy about it. And so they've been trying to find a way to be able to attack the gay community and go out, and the transgender community is an easier way for them to do it because more people are bothered by it. So it's like, oh, we'll go at that angle first. Okay. And to a certain degree, the trans community played into it, because the bathroom argument, that should have been one like, I just want to pee, and that should have been the end of the conversation.
Right.
That should have just been it, and then it would have made them look stupid, and they would have had to back off. But because people wanted to argue over it, it expanded. And then you saw how the Daily Wire basically lied about what happened in Loudoun County and completely misrepresented the facts, and that spread like wildfire, because they think apparently transgender people are just sneaking into women's bathrooms to assault them, even though this basically has never happened.
Right.
That narrative is very catchy, and it goes along with them because there are a lot of people on the right who are religiously motivated who do not like gay people, and all they need is a spark, and the rest of the right will either go along with it or they'll quietly protest, but they don't want to publicly protest because they will get canceled. And that's what we're watching happen here. I think most of the people who are losing their minds over this understand exactly what the opposition is, which is you are going to have people who are teachers who are clearly gay. There are some people who are just like, we know what it is. If that person, you had the guy on MSNBC where they were the right was sharing this video, and they were claiming he wanted to talk about stuff in his bedroom. I'm like, it's on MSNBC. He's not doing that.
Right.
So let me watch the video. I watched the video, and he's talking about, well, if he goes paddleboarding, and then he goes with his partner, and he says to the students, oh, this weekend I went paddleboarding with my partner. And they ask him, well, what's a partner?
Right.
Can he tell them what that is? Like, the moment that you get to the point where you can't answer that question, That is ridiculous.
Yep.
When I was in second grade, my teacher got married. She went to Ireland. She's Irish. She got married in a castle, came back, told us all about it, how she kissed the syphilis stone and she was out in the field and trying to collect four-leaf clovers, and apparently it was like foggy the next morning and really cold. It was awesome because none of us had been to Ireland, and it was nice to hear what that was like.
Mm-hmm.
Should she not have told us? Were we indoctrinated? She
No.
even explained to us the
Yeah.
difference between Miss and Mrs. That was what she did. That was gender identity. Should we not have been told that? It's that level of silliness where it just doesn't make any sense. And you do have circumstances where people are growing up in situations where they are in a very conservative home, or they might be in a very home, but their parents might not want a gay kid or might not want a
Right.
trans kid, and they're afraid to say something. Well, if you have
Mm-hmm.
a teacher who says, "Okay, look, if you're gay, you're trans, if you feel like there's something that you want to talk about and you can't talk about it at home, you can come to see me and I'll listen to you and I'll keep your confidence." Well, someone did this, put out a video, and then the libs of TikTok took that and went, "Here's a groomer." Well, what if that kid is thinking about killing themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Now you've just
Mm-hmm.
brought this person offline, made them hide themselves. There may have been some
Mm-hmm.
kid who might have been trying to hurt themselves. I know people who've done this, where the person who stopped them was someone who was not a member of their family. When they had this going on in Florida, the committee limited everyone who was coming in there to speak to 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and their claim was that they were doing this so that everyone could get a turn. But it was absolute. They did not want to listen to what they had to say. And what was really disturbing was watching these people stand there and give these tearful accounts of their lives as quickly as possible. And these conservatives, these Republicans, just sitting there stone faced, like, next, right? You
Yeah.
have all these people telling you how it's a teacher who stopped them from hurting themselves, or it's a teacher who rescued them, or it was their classmates, or something like that. That is the reality of this. I understand that no one wants kids to be taught about explicit sex acts, and there are
Right.
people who are trying to do that, and obviously that is wrong. But there is no explicit sex act in someone saying, "Oh, I'm bisexual. Tell me what I just told you about my sex acts." Nothing.
See, I
Right,
wouldn't.
but
I
the thing
wouldn't
is,
even go
like,
that far. I'm back to two mommies and two daddies.
Yeah.
right, but
Can't
my
say
thing
that.
is, like, listen, kids can barely wipe their ass correctly. You think they're gonna figure out their sexual identity at an early age? You know what I'm saying? And that's what I
Well,
mean. Like, I look at
Jackie,
my
when did you
kids.
get your first crush?
Wow. I first realized I was attracted to girls like pretty early on in my
Like
childhood.
9.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, like I would say, I would say not like 9, maybe a little older, but I didn't really explore it until I was in like my late middle school years, and I was still very confused. And I grew up in a very religious household, so it was kind of like one of those things where I was taught that being that way was bad, and I was going to go to hell, you know, the spiel.
Mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm.
obviously, and I had to learn about sexuality mainly from like, you know, my friends. I couldn't really talk to my parents. But the last thing I did was really talk to my teachers in my school system. I mean, even with sexual education, when we had those classes, I wasn't sitting there like, "Hey, I think female boobies are nice." Like, I wasn't doing that. And it wasn't until I got like older, like when high school came around, and I was 18, is when I really was like, all right, maybe I'm bisexual. And then obviously growing up further, I was like, no, I'm pansexual. But that's what I'm saying. Like, from experience, I'm looking back at it. I know every kid's different. Not everyone has the same experience I did. But at the same time, it's like, I always feel that, like, when it comes to kids, I think, like I said, I stand by this. Kids should just enjoy being kids and not having to struggle. And I know some kids will struggle, but like when that happens, when you have a very young child, like just some guy was saying, who is like struggling with that and they don't have anyone to talk to. Now, if they're reaching
Mm-hmm.
out to someone, okay, fine. Like maybe if their kid really is reaching out for someone, yeah, then you help. But if they're kids who are just being kids, enjoying playing outside, scraping their knees, playing Fortnite, whatever they do as kids, like if they're happy and they're enjoying themselves, then just let them enjoy it. Because now what you're doing is you're making them question things that they weren't even thinking about at this moment. Like now they're sitting there like, oh, well, I never thought of that. It's like it's too soon, in my opinion, for them to have to worry about issues that we are facing, like, you know, today. Like even as adults struggle with their identity. Grown adults who are figuring it out struggle with their identity. And kids shouldn't have to be subjected to that too early. Let them just enjoy being children. And again, if they're asking questions, and that's a different situation. There are children who
But
are
the
going to ask
problem is you
questions.
can't answer those questions under this.
Can
bill.
I?
That's
Can
the
I
problem.
take another take at this just to
Yep.
see
Yeah.
how
Of course.
completely insane the chat goes? Okay, I'm
Oh,
gonna put my
God.
devil horns on right
The
now.
chat's on fire. I'm going, Leon.
Okay.
I love you.
Well, okay, here we are. Okay. What's been the biggest child sex abuse scandal in the last 10 or 20 years?
Catholic Church.
The Catholic fucking Church. So
Yes.
why do
That is true.
people who
Not
teach
one.
that a child was born of a virgin, which it introduces the idea of virginity and therefore the opposite of virginity, so they have to explain to kids what a virgin is to get the idea of the Virgin Mary and why Jesus is special, and then basically torture porn every Easter, and then he's brought back up, and this is a structure that allowed the systemic and covered up abuse of children. What happened to these people themselves that they see groomers and pedophiles everywhere? This says a lot more to me about the people who think, there's going to be some sort of groomer pedophile around children than anybody who cares about trans kids. It is just categorically untrue that they're doing surgery with people under 18. It is categorically untrue that they're giving 5-year-olds drugs. Puberty doesn't start that early. So when people start with this rhetoric, they don't know what they're talking about. And I just wonder why the one religion in the world that has virginity and sexual activity core to the creation of their Messiah has any business telling other people that we shouldn't teach kids about sex.
Liana, I just have one big question. So are you saying that Easter isn't about a rabbit that lays eggs for us to find every year? Because I thought that's what Easter was.
Well, see, there's like an egg on the Seder plate in my house, but the pagans had it down. The Irish pagans with the Bridget and the triple goddess and the eggs and the rabbits and a chick with a rabbit head. That was cool. Like, let's go back to worshiping furries, please. It makes more sense than this insanity going on over issues that, let's face it, there are ways to protect children that don't involve limiting speech.
Yep.
And this is the problem. They are trying to solve one problem by creating another problem. You don't protect anyone with sweeping censorship.
Yep. And it's not the first time they've done it.
I mean, I get that. It's just like free speech is like such a bitch because we all say, yeah, free speech, but then like certain things, it's like we're free to say things and we're free to do things, but like, should we? Because like sometimes, it's like you're free to be an asshole, but should you be an asshole? Probably not. And it's like, I get it. Like, I'm all for free speech, but I also am like that person. Like, free speech is fine, but there's also freedom of consequences for your rights. Because, like, if you're going to sit there and protest at a veteran's funeral because that state or whatever legalized gay marriage,
Wait, what?
You never heard of the Westboro Baptist Church?
No.
Oh yeah, the God hates word I won't repeat.
Yeah, the God hates F word. Yeah, they.
Okay. Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Here's my thing. It's like they are in their right to protest and say what they want, but I also feel like I want to reserve the right to just trip them while they're walking and act like I didn't just do that. You know what I'm saying? Like if you broke a tooth on your way down, I'm sorry. My foot was just up there. But I think like what it comes down to is like I get what you guys are saying. It's all fair points, but I do still hate that like. We have to have this conversation about like what's best for other people's kids. Cause like that's what it comes down to. Like these aren't my kids. These aren't your kids. These are other people's kids and how other people's households are. It's like, it's hard because like everyone raises their kids in their own way. And sometimes like I wish that parents were more open-minded with their children, more communication with their children. So that, like I said, it's not dependent on the education system. It's not dependent on entertainment media. They shouldn't be the ones sitting down with other people's kids to teach them about the things that they're going to have experience.
Do.
That is what teachers do.
A lot of times that's what guidance counselors do. Like, it is a big deal in the LGBTQ community to be able to have that reliance. It's a bigger deal than what a lot of people realize because I mean, a
I
lot
would
of
like to
people are
simplify
simply
it though.
homophobic. What? Oh, I'm
I would
sorry.
like
Go
to
ahead.
simplify it though, and just take it to a very basic thing. So
Mhm.
have all of us seen Disney's Aladdin, the real one, not that garbage thing they did recently?
The animated one.
The
Yes, yes.
live action was
So
good. How
good.
dare
No,
you? The live
no,
action was
no,
good.
no, you're not gonna defend that. Just let that one go. It's not gonna happen. Okay. So you remember the scene at the end of the movie when Jafar becomes a sorcerer, right? He's wished to be the best sorcerer in the world, and he's trying to get Jasmine to love him, and she won't. And
And he
then he
turns
goes,
into a giant snake.
no, before that, before that. When he goes to the genie, he tries to get the genie to grant him his wish to make Jasmine love him, and the genie
Okay.
can't do that, right? So then Jasmine's watching them argue. She notices that Aladdin's coming in through the window, right? So she tries to get the attention of Jafar, and so she thrusts that little hip out. She's got her little clear shawl on. She
Yeah,
drops
yeah,
the
yeah.
shawl, and then she goes like, Jafar, right? And then
Yep.
the genie's mouth
Yep.
drops open. Okay, so that scene is in a Disney film. It's a
Yes.
rated G film that is shown to a 5-year-old.
Yep.
I'll do you
Everyone that
better
I
than
know
that.
has been in there. No one thinks that that scene is wrong. That is sexualizing children. Nobody thinks that there's anything wrong with that scene.
I'll
So
do you one
my
better
question,
than that.
I mean,
Go
like,
no, go
yes,
back and watch the animated Robin Hood movie.
oh yeah,
right. I
it's
mean,
but my question though is if if it's okay for them to see that without anyone explaining what's going on, because nobody stops the film to go, okay, this is what she's doing. They
Mhm.
just let the
right.
context of the scene happen. So if it goes over the kid's head, it goes over their head. And if they have
Right.
questions, they can ask questions. So what difference would it make if instead of that being Jasmine, it was Jason? Like, would it actually matter if you just played the scene out the exact same way? And this is the
I
same thing that
mean,
goes for when you're talking about kids in school. If you have a teacher who has, when I was in school, and I've seen this, recently, where the teachers they have, if they're in their home room, they have pictures of their family on their desk.
Mhm.
Should if they have their pictures of family on their desk, if they're married to someone who's of the same sex, does it matter? Can they have that? Like, at some point,
No.
the argument that's being made is about someone teaching kids about explicit sex acts. That's one argument. But if you're creating legislation that basically says you can't have a picture of your husband on your desk, this is a
Yep.
problem. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think that that's an
And
issue that
I
too many kids are gonna be questioning.
people
right,
keep
but the,
saying, "Read the bill, read the bill." I actually have the bill on my phone. I have it in front of me right now. And
well,
this is the line to back up just some guy here. Classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through grade 3 or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate. That does not say gay sexual orientation or transgender identity. It says any sexual orientation or gender identity, and that includes straight and cisgender. You can't have a picture of your family on your desk anymore, according to the wording of this bill. That's the problem with it.
no, I get that, but like just some guy was saying, like I understand. For example, like we'll talk about the cartoon stuff because like the majority of the cartoons we watch, you look back at it, there was always some dirty joke or some innuendo that parents would get because the point was they did it because the parents are watching the shows with their kids. The kids aren't going to get it, but the parents will get a little chuckle out of it. So it makes it enjoyable for both. And I get it, like when we're not talking about, but that's why they would do that stuff because it's like a little nod, a little thing for the parents to enjoy, a good story, a little good flirtation scene where she uses her little femininity to get out of a situation. Cool. Kids aren't going to notice that. They don't care about that stuff. That's why when we look back at shows we watch and we're like, holy crap, how did I miss that? That was clearly a joke about the guy's junk. And that's what it is. It's like kids aren't caring about this stuff because they're not looking for it. They're not educated on it. They're just watching it as if it's just a cute little show. They like the story, they like the animations, they like the songs. That's it. They're not caring about all that stuff. Hell, most kids don't necessarily even really focus on the story of Aladdin. Like they just see a bunch of characters moving around and singing and dancing. They don't know what's going on.
I knew that
What-
story inside and out by the time I was 6.
Why was there not a scourge of kids dressing in drag when Timon did it in The Lion King? If
I
media
mean, I
works
don't
the
know
way
about
people
you.
tell
I
me that.
did.
Because what? We're going to dress in drag and do the hula? Like, he's in drag. He's got the pineapple hat on. He's dressed up like a woman. Why didn't the imitatable behavior work the way people are claiming it does? Because it doesn't work that way.
Right. By the way, I also agree that it's stupid. Like, kids aren't gonna look at a picture of some guy on the desk and be like, "Is that your husband?" Like, nobody's gonna. The kids aren't gonna care. So I think like with this bill, there's like a little bit of like stuff I think is like I don't mind, but a lot like some of that stuff is stupid. Like, there's no reason why you can't have a picture of your family on your desk. Kids aren't looking. Like, I don't think kids aren't really caring. Kids are focused on Fortnite right now.
In my school, they did.
Right, but we're older now, and things are so much different with kids. Like, kids are more, I hate to say it, but, like, kids are a lot smarter, like, when it comes to, like, research. They have access to the internet in the palm of their hands where we didn't. So, like, if they feel like they are feeling like maybe I might be gay, they're going to Google it. Like, these kids know how to use Google. Like, my niece.
But doesn't that make this entire thing kind of silly then? If they have, because I make this point about people losing their minds over another issue. They're like, oh my God, kids are going to see stuff. I'm like, but you gave them a smartphone. I remember with one of my friends, when smartphones came out, one of my friends, his dad got him a smartphone and everyone told him, dude, don't take pictures of yourself with the phone, because he was prone to doing this. And we're like, seriously, don't do that. You can be arrested for recording yourself. Honestly, do not do that. Okay. If they have the phones, and I mean, you have younger kids with the phones too. Like, you have kids who are like in first, second grade who have smartphones on them. I don't think that's a good idea, but okay, I'm not giving my kid that, but the rest of them, they can have that. But when you look at that, if you're trying to stop them from learning about this stuff in school, but they have the phone, now you have someone where they just have access to it with no one to filter it so that they can at least explain it or see whether or not it's something appropriate. I mean, do you want them just Googling gay and then letting Google do its thing? Because they're not going to see tame stuff.
Yeah, that's a fair point. No, that's a fair point. Yeah, I just thought about that. Like, yeah, when you type gay in Google, oh boy, you're good for it.
That's my thing, is if teachers aren't setting this dialogue, if they're not facilitating dialogue on this stuff, who does? It's kids telling kids how the world works, and that's always a bad idea. Having done, peer facilitation and hearing about some of the ridiculous things that peers tell their peers, it's somebody has to be the grown-up in the room. That's the purpose of school. And I think that instead of banning entire topics of conversation, there should be some meeting of the minds and some compromising, and basically saying, all right, focus on what they can say as opposed to what they can't. Because it's funny that the chat went from, you didn't read the bill, you didn't read the bill, you didn't read the bill. And then the bill was on my phone. I had it as a quick reference, and you don't know what the bill is saying. It doesn't mean that. And there's nothing in the bill that actually defines classroom instruction. So then we get into the intent of the people who wrote it. And then when it goes before the courts, they pull up all the grandstanding that happened surrounding the bill. And it's very clearly what it's about. And that's why I think the way to properly challenge this bill is through the courts, because we can't really have a discussion about this stuff here, because they say, you didn't read it. And then when you prove you read it, well, you don't understand it. I'm sorry, unless someone in the chat is a lawyer, their opinion is the same as mine. Neither of us has an expert opinion on the subject. It's a waste of time to go back and forth on this thing. Although it is sort of hilarious to see how I can kind of manipulate the outrage in the chat.
Holy, this chat is probably, where are people coming from? They must be from
some guy, I think.
They're finally starting to realize that they are not in control here.
Yeah. Let me get these super chats, guys. I'm sorry.
How can you get a super chat? I can't even keep up with the chat.
There was a good one about Mulan. That was a good point.
I couldn't see it.
I know, it went by too fast. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm going to read it off my phone. Robert Willing, thank you so much. Looking at the chat proves my previous super chat. Yeah. It's weird to see. It really is. I'm not gonna lie. Jaden Whedon, thank you so much. Let's not forget about Milan. I've never seen Milan.
She dresses up like a boy to join the military. She pretends to be a guy. Who
How
is
have you
it
not
from
seen
last year
Milan?
staring straight back at me? Launched Christina Aguilera's career singing a song written by
that
an
I'll
was
make a
Asian girl.
fan out of you, bro. Like what?
Yeah, you're oh wow, chat is going literally
Yeah,
below the
I think
belt.
it's funny that they say groomers instead of wanting children educated to know how to fight back against groomers, right? Like you would think you would want to teach children, no, this is not okay, but instead you call them groomer. It absolutely makes zero sense to me.
Can we move on from this? Because it
Yes,
just seems
we
like it's
absolutely
diminishing
can.
returns at this point.
I do have one thing.
The minute people start arguing ratio, I cannot take them seriously anymore because that's a mechanized appeal to popularity. Just because something is the majority opinion does not make it right, especially in a microcosm like this. It's a bad argument. It's not something that should be taken seriously. What it does show is that this conversation got under a lot of people's skin. And I think that in itself is a victory. People start freaking out when something makes them think.
Yep. Or makes them slightly uncomfortable. One thing before we do move on, Ken said it's because it's projection. Yeah, that's kind of what I think. But I did have one thing, Saggy, I wanted to specifically ask you about when it came to your conversation yesterday. And you kind of seemed like you walked it back, but I wasn't sure. So I wanted to ask. You said yesterday in your stream that kids like under 10, let's just use 10 as a point, shouldn't have gay representation in their movies or their shows?
Oh, no, I think no, I wasn't saying that they shouldn't.
Okay.
Like, so the way I explain it is like I think it's fine if you're gonna have like Liana said, like the two parents, right? The parents. So if you have like two dads, two moms, I don't think it's a big deal. But like I feel like it doesn't necessarily mean like we have to go into like a whole ass arc to explain the relationship. It's like just have them there because it's natural, right? So if there are kids that have same gender parents, like they could just feel like it's normal. It doesn't have to be explained when you're that young, because again, when you have parents, like you're already gonna experience that. You're already gonna like have that explained to you. Like before it was normal, right? There were same-sex couples who had kids, right? There wasn't this stuff it wasn't like big in entertainment. So like how did they deal with that before they put it in entertainment, right? They just they had their parents explain it to them, or they'd go to school, they say, hey, I have two mommies, two dads, and then you go from there. So I don't feel like if you want to normalize these things, I don't feel like you need to insert it and then make a huge deal about it. Like have the characters there, say these are my parents at this point in 2022. It shouldn't be something that we have to harp on. Like you don't have to explain what their relationship is. They just have two dads. They just have two moms. That's it. That's how I feel, because I feel like explaining it makes it seem like it's not normal anymore. Like if you have to explain something why it's different, right? Then that's not normalizing it, in my opinion. You know, I don't.
But counter to that, you only have to do that because Christianity it interjects the idea of the ideal of virginity, which is introducing the concept of sex through a lack of sex to children, and then heterosexuality as the norm. You only have to explain what the issue is with two mommies and two daddies because people have already been exposed to a certain amount of culture before their school age.
Right. And the thing is I would say half of Disney's movies, specifically talking about then, explain heterosexuality. Look at, we were just using Jasmine. Yeah. That's an explanation of falling in love. That's an explanation of, Beauty and the Beast. All of these movies were essentially the same exact thing, but for heterosexuality. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think overall, like when it comes to sexuality in kids, like even sex ed, like I'll play like the thing, like sex ed, in my opinion, kids shouldn't be learning about sex until they are developing puberty. When they start developing that those sexual urges, right? You know, if you're gonna have sex ed, yeah, like you can explain, you know, girls are gonna get their periods, men are gonna get, you know, experience their stuff, but I don't think you have to talk about sex,
Is
right?
anybody saying we are? Like, is this even an
I
argument you have
remember
to
sex
rebut?
ed. I remember sex ed, and let me tell you, the videos that they had us watch, I'm like, I could have lived another few years without having to see this, because at that point, like, yeah, I was getting to that point, but like, I didn't need to know all that, you know. But I feel like it's even with like sex ed, I feel like sex ed should be like late, like right before you go into high school, if anything, or high school. I think that, like I said, once kids start going through puberty, like, yeah, do they need to know, especially girls? Like, I didn't know about my period. My mom wouldn't tell me, right? So I had to wake up and think I was dying. Okay.
See,
Oh,
that's
that's so sad.
no, but
Right.
that's true. And I mean, that kind of stuff's getting lost with all these people freaking out about talking to 5-year-olds about sexual activity. I mean, can we please
Right.
have a conversation based on rational limits instead of this ad reductum absurdum arguments?
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, even with sexual education entirely, like I said, that's why I say just let kids enjoy their childhood before they have to really get to that point where they have to struggle now, because like we're still not we're there, but we're not 100% there when it comes to that with you know, sexual identity. You know, I think that it's fair to just ask, like, just let the kids enjoy their Fortnite, enjoy their going out and being young before they have to worry about this stuff, because it is a struggle. And that's when a lot of kids, especially when they're getting older, they're going through puberty, that's when the depression, that's when the suicidal thoughts come in, because that's when they now are like, I'm different. And that's when they need to like ask for, like, I need help. And if they go and ask their teachers, I think the teachers should be allowed to say, okay, well, have you talked to your parents about this? No, or yes, I did. They weren't okay with it. Okay, well, let's try to figure out how to help you in the best way so you're not feeling that way anymore. But I think that it needs to be later on. I think it needs to be more when they're a little older, where they can mentally handle it. I think when they're too young, it's just not gonna. For me personally, I just think it's not worth putting these kids through stress too early in their life. And I think that's fair.
I think, Sagi, we're sort of saying the same thing in different ways,
Yeah.
and I think there is merit in preserving childhood. The question is how to do that, right? Is it
Right.
just leave it up to parents to fight each other and scream at PTA meetings the way we're getting right now, and kids have to go, why is my mom fighting with my friend's dad about stuff I don't understand? What's critical race theory? Or is it the place for schools to, how do I put this, to try to fend that off with, okay, guys, what can we agree on? What can we opt into instead of laws banning speech, instead of laws chilling speech? What can we teach? Because that's what's being lost in all this culture war extremist stuff.
Right. I mean, the only thing I could say is like the best way, in my opinion, to handle it is, um, like, I think the school system needs to talk to parents and be like, how do you feel if your kid came to me about this issue? And if the parents are like, yeah, I'm okay, then fine. And if the parents are like, no, we want to handle it at home, I mean, I think the parent should have say in it, because again, it's going to open up a conversation of communication. These educators can maybe a parent's going to struggle with having to come to terms that their daughter wants to be their son, right? So maybe the education system can also be there for the parents to help counsel them into talking with their kids, because it's all about communication. And if a parent is really bad and adamant, I guess they can explore options. But I think the start is like, let's have the teachers have the communication with the parents and help them so that they can come to terms with this as well. Because it's not, you know, some parents are very chill. They're like, oh no, honey, I already knew you were gay. I already knew you were trans, right? But then you have the parents that struggle with it. Like, you know, it has to be communication with the education system and the parents involving these parents' children. Because that it is their children. Yes, we send kids off to be educated, but if we're doing that, there needs to be communication. And it needs to be civil, and people need to just get their shit together. That's
Oh,
all I can say.
I
Get
definitely
your shit together.
agree. I definitely agree that setting examples of civility is a lost art in culture. Can we talk about something pleasant like
Yes, let me
Ezra
get the
Miller
super
losing his
chat.
shit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Let me get the super chat and we'll move on. But some kids hit puberty early and some really late. Sex ed doesn't go in depth about the risk of sex. Yeah, I
That's a good
remember.
point.
I remember watching. We had to watch a birth video, and I'm like, "Oh, that's so sweet," like, "Oh, they love each other. They're having a baby. Oh my god, what the fuck?" Like,
Wait. You watched the birth
Did
video?
you guys
We
did you
saw
guys
the
get those
genitals of
scared
STDs.
did you get those scared celibate videos? Is that what you guys are talking about?
pretty
No,
much, yeah.
I got the pregnancy ones, and I also got the STDs one where we had
And
to
they
see
would
what the
show pictures.
yeah, they put pictures and they did
Oh!
yeah. Let me tell you, like they tried to scare us straight. They're like, here's a picture of a vagina that has gonorrhea, and we're like, no, it's so
Yep.
gross. Yeah, we
Yep.
had to see those, and let me tell you, as a kid, we don't need to see that as a kid. Like I said, there are certain limits with sex ed. Teach us about our periods. Teach guys about their unwanted, but their unexpected boners. But like, can we not look at genitals that are infected? Please and thank you. Never again. If the horror stories.
Yes,
I blew
it was
waffle over
horrible.
thing.
All right, so let's move on. Oh my goodness. So let's talk about Ezra Miller because there has been so much come out. The man needs help. Like,
Oh,
even
wait. We can't call him a man.
oh, I'm sorry.
They
Right.
them. They
They,
them.
them.
Interesting segue. Okay.
I
Totally
forget
not
all the
gonna
time,
make
too.
people that.
Let's not get in trouble for misgendering Ezra Miller.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's non-binary. I forgot.
Non-binary, yeah.
Oh my. Okay, I'm gonna try my best. Usually, when I record a video with somebody that's non-binary, so Ezra Miller or Vita Ayala, something like that, I stick a piece of paper in my hand, and the whole time I'm recording, I've got they in my hand, so I don't mess up. But 9 out of 10 times, I am going to mess up. So apologies ahead of time. Super chat, Chuck. Thank you so much. If it shows up, my computer's being a little laggy. Young Ripa told me to tell you all the entire streams reek of tokenism. Oh my god.
I think I'm the only token here. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah. Oh, you could get that. You're gonna get me in trouble, Chuck. You're gonna get me in trouble. Anyways, so we're gonna move on. Ezra Miller. I just seen today that the whole incident that happened in Hawaii, right? With him getting arrested and okay. So I just seen today that not only was he arrested, but previous to this, there was 10 different phone calls to the cops that he actually wasn't arrested for.
Oh, you just heard about that?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, dude, he got a lot of complaints about him. He got kicked out of a lot of bars. This video of him getting pushed out of a bar he's trying to get in. But like the weirdest part about that, because I've been following this, is like when I saw the video that TMZ dropped with Ezra outside of the bar getting into a confrontation with the bar people, I noticed that Ezra was alone. Which was weird because Ezra is known and seen, especially on their social media pages, just always around people. And I've been told that they travel with like some people, like usually they do travel with an entourage, right? So like, where was the people? Like, where were the people who were with Ezra? My only theory is they were in the bar. Ezra got kicked out. It was trying to get in to get to their friends. But like, why weren't the friends out there with them? Like, usually when your friend gets kicked out of a bar or a club or establishment, you tend to leave with said friend. Where was Ezra's friends when this was happening? And especially like, where was Ezra's friends the entire trip? Did Ezra go alone? Because I'm pretty sure Ezra went there with people. Because I've heard reports from people who've actually talked to Ezra that said that they were with Ezra in Hawaii. But like, where were they when Ezra got in trouble? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think that it was very weird and telling because it's out of character for Ezra to be alone. Ezra's always with people.
That's why I said I think it was Liana last time saying about the addiction and that's just what the whole entire thing feels like. But what I really wanted to concentrate on this time was like, how does they say there was an emergency meeting, then that got debunked. We have the trial coming up for Amber Heard, who still has her job, but Johnny lost his, right? So at what point, with him being such a big part of the upcoming DCU project, what do they do? Like, the whole movie's already shot. They're already in post-production. They don't really have a choice but to keep Ezra there.
I mean, for this movie, yes, I don't think Ezra's going to continue with DC. I mean, at this point, like they should be focusing. Yeah, they should be focusing on Ezra getting help. Like I can't see there. I've seen people also say that like Ezra had meltdowns during the shooting of the movie, and I'm sitting there like, so if you have an employee who's having mental breakdowns, why weren't you kind of like, hey, are you okay? Because like you don't seem okay, you probably need to talk to somebody. Maybe we could just put a pin on this, or maybe we can recast. Like they should have done that early on when you have an actor having meltdowns on set multiple times. It's like, at what point do you say, okay, maybe we recast, maybe we can't do this, maybe this is going to be too much for you? Like that, I'm sorry, I don't blame 100% like one of us, because people were getting on me about that, like, oh, you can't blame. Like, I blame them for seeing a problem and not addressing it before it got to this point. Like, you could have saved yourself tons of money. Like,
I don't think I getting weird people in my chat. I don't think you have any idea what my channel load's about, if that's what you actually think.
Yeah,
like
we have jumped timelines at this point. We're now in the multiverse.
Nobody said. Here's the thing. Nobody's saying that Ezra, like, what redemption, like Ezra has mental health issues. It is very obvious. Anyone can see that is a very self-destructive person. Okay, Ezra needs something, and when you're lashing out like that over karaoke and stuff, like there is a problem when you're triggered by people singing and having fun, and your thing is to go on stage and lash out. Like, that's a cry for help. So it's not like there's redemption. It's somebody who needs legit help.
Well, didn't they have the same problem with what's his face?
Okay, bye, internet.
But you're talking Ray Fisher?
No, Ben Affleck.
Yeah, Ben Affleck.
Oh yeah, okay.
He was drinking the entire time while he was doing the filming. He was going through his issues with Jennifer Gardner and his marriage, and so he was kind of self-destructing while they were making, I think it was Batman versus Superman at the time. And just real quick, for anyone who's watching, I unlisted my stream and turned off the comments since I'm here and I'm conversing. I don't have anyone watching the chat, so I'm not going to watch the chat and try to talk at the same time. I literally can't multitask like that.
That's why it slowed down. I was like, why?
Yeah, so I shut mine off so that I can actually talk to people.
Yours was something.
Yeah, well, it's right wingers. They lose their mind. Someone doesn't agree with them. But I think that Warner Brothers kind of turned a blind eye with Ben Affleck, and at least tried to handle behind the scenes. So I would imagine that they might be doing the same thing. I don't know what the deal is that's going on there, because remember, the last incident was in 2020, so that was 2 years ago.
Yeah,
with the choking thing.
Right. That one was so weird, though. It looks so fake to me.
But that's what I was going to say. But that's what I'm going to say is, like, if he, like, sorry, Ezra had that choking incident, like, way back when. That should have been, like, what are you doing? Like, that should have been a big red flag. The fact that they continued on, and it's like, even after that, cool, you gave them a pass, cool. But when you see the behavior on set, like, especially like you said, just some guy, like, if Ben Affleck was having issues and they worked with him behind the scenes, what the hell happened with Ezra then?
Maybe they're trying to, and it's just not working. I mean, we don't know what the circumstances are, and with Ezra Miller being at least a B-list star, there's some issues there of enablers who might be around the situation, so that what looks on the surface like, oh, they're friends. No, they might not be friends. Not those kind of friends. So we don't really know. I am suspicious, though, of how you get into someone's room in a hotel. Like, how did that happen?
I think he was staying with them. Wasn't Ezra staying with them?
Yeah. So Ezra's kind of like I would consider Ezra like compared to like a gypsy, right? Like, I don't think that they spend money on hotels. I think they just couch surf, right? And I think like the if you read the restraining order, right? they released their restraining order. I thought there was something weird about that, right? Because they say that the conversation, like that Ezra busted into the room and said, "I'm going to, hurt you and your whatever wife, whatever," right? But like that was it. There was no like, well, what did you guys do after that? Like, what was the reaction? Like, how, like, what happened after that? That's all that happened. It just, but that's what I'm saying. There's so much in that thing to me personally that like there's so much context missing, and I don't know if maybe they just like, I don't know how the laws work, but like out here I've seen restraining orders. They go into really great detail of incidents that like explain why you fear for your life and like what happened. So there's a lot in that report that was like, I don't know, like I want to know the whole story, right? It's like I need to hear the whole story, like what happened before that prompted Ezra to do that, and what was the reaction after. There was none of that. There was just
imagine him breaking down a door. He doesn't seem big enough to be able to kick down a hotel door to get in. So wouldn't he have to have been let in, or like something else is happening before this that has caused this to happen?
Okay, but can we take a step back? Can we take a step back on this? Yeah. The list of people who worked on Justice League, play one of the characters who haven't had some sort of personal or emotional breakdown is far shorter than the people who have, because it's Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot. Ben Affleck, addiction issues. Jason Momoa's marriage got into trouble. They were separating, then they weren't. Ezra Miller is Ezra Miller. Ray Fisher, something very bad clearly happened to him. There is something, and then you expand into, the Fantastic Beasts franchise, and there's stuff going on there. And then Amber Heard and the whole Johnny Depp thing. Warner Brothers has an internal cultural problem. They are not, with the sheer number of Marvel films out there, you would expect, if this was just normal Hollywood stuff, to see the same thing on the Marvel side, and they have much more output and have far fewer of those things. I mean, Shuri's an anti-vaxxer. That's pretty much the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. Right? There's obviously some sort of cultural issue at Warner Brothers, and maybe part of the reason Ezra Miller is the way he is because of how abusive the Justice League shoot was. Who knows?
Yeah, I never even considered that. That's a really good point. But like, when it comes to how Ezra is going forward, I just don't think there's a way around keeping him on staff. And then they just ordered a I don't know if you guys saw, but they just ordered an Aqualad movie.
Really?
That's interesting.
Yeah, I know.
With real Aqualad or
live action.
Aqualad,
I can't think of his name.
Or
the black one or the white one?
Jackson Hyde. The one from Young Justice. He transferred over.
Okay.
I loved how just some guy was trying to tiptoe that. It's like, it's okay. I'm black. I'm black. I can say it. Black or white guy.
I'm not trying to tiptoe about it, because one of them is Aqualad and the other one is a random replacement. But I need to figure out which one it is, because I don't know what Warner Brothers is doing. I mean, Jason Momoa does not look like Aquaman.
Right.
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 Well, I think I knew it was going to be the black one, just because they're doing this thing where they need to just get as many people of color characters on the screen. So they were going to go with the black one.
But if they do that, then his father is Black Manta, and they just introduced Black Manta, and I mean, he could maybe be in his late 30s at tops. So how is he going to have a
and they're doing, remember that YA, you gave me the ocean, you brought me the ocean, something along that lines? That's what they're doing. That's what they're basing it off of.
Really?
Yeah. It was one of the better of them, but it wasn't Gotham high levels of cringe.
So they've given up then on this idea of having a connected film universe. Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Standalone films.
Yeah.
Like what we got with the Batman.
Okay, all right.
Well,
buckle in.
DC is attracting directors like James Gunn, who are burned out on the Marvel system because they want directorial control, and they can't have a shared universe and offer guys like that the ability to make the movie they want. And so James Gunn pretty much said when he was promoting Suicide Squad, DC's always going to be hit and miss. because they get a director, the director makes a film, it's one movie, one movie, one movie. They're all, they're all the director's vision, and that's a feature, not a bug. And that's how they're luring some of these directors with names over from Marvel so they can get an HBO Max thing like Peacemaker that'll go, a bazillion seasons and sell subscriptions and stuff like Doom Patrol that, continues to make money for them, because streaming's where it's at now. Theatrical
Right.
release is now secondary in terms of the balance sheets of these companies.
Bianca, thank you so much. How is everyone today? Chat, guest, and host. Bianca's stuck at work. I am good. How is everyone else?
I'm
chilling.
waiting to finish Elden Ring.
Oh my god, I can't do Elden Ring. You guys in your Elden Ring.
Where are you?
I am I
Have you
think
beat
near the
Godfrey
end.
yet?
Yes, I think I have to go. I just did the thing with the tree.
Oh.
So it hasn't completely. I know what happens next, like it burns down the city. I haven't gotten that far yet, but I put like
Ooh.
200 hours into the game. If you're wondering
Oh
why I
my-
have been making videos, it's because I've been playing Elden Ring.
Elden Ring came out.
Damn.
Like for the last month, it has just consumed my life, and
That's
I
why I
have
haven't
no
started
idea
it.
what's going on.
Right.
The story is just. I don't know if you saw Shadowversity's video where he was complaining about how the story is just completely all over the place.
That's all from software games, though.
Yeah, I
yeah.
have no idea what's going on.
That's okay. It's sort of more a tone and a mood that just sort of washes over you. That's from software in a nutshell. It's more theme and mood than a plot that necessarily makes sense.
Yeah, but it is fun and it is interesting, and because I tend to create my own stories anyway, I
Mhm.
have my own narrative that's going on in the story while I'm just wandering around getting destroyed by dogs and mice. And then well, like, I don't know. I don't play from software games that often, so I didn't realize that random enemies, even further into the game, would be able to not necessarily one shot you, but if two
They
of
can
them
beast
gang
you,
up
yeah.
on you, they can
Pretty
like
close.
destroy
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me?
Well, I was just gonna say too before we I guess I would like with the Ezra thing. The only thing I really would end on that is like I do hope they get the help they need. I think that this might be the end of for Ezra as far as playing the Flash. At least,
I agree with you.
yeah. Like I think that Ezra just needs to focus on figuring out what's going on and like maybe just take a break from acting for a little bit. I think they made enough money where they could survive for a bit and just get some help if they need. And then if they want to come back and do something else, I'm sure they'll find some roles. But like, yeah, you got to get your mind right, and like that should be your main focus. Is your mental health, because your mental
Yeah.
health is always going to be worth more than any amount of money you can make in the industry. And I think that's the best thing for Ezra to do. And I think Warner Brothers should really just like put their foot down and be like, you need help. Give them an intervention. They need it.
Did you ever get the sense that they truly loved playing the Flash anyway? It seemed out of their wheelhouse.
It never seemed like Barry either, ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that when you're miserable inside, which seems like what Ezra is doing, I think Ezra is just not happy in general. So I think that might be why they couldn't really get into the role.
But
That
when
makes
you're
sense.
playing a clean cut all-American superhero and then you do a photo shoot dressed as a Playboy bunny, it seems like you're throwing it. I
so
thought that
hot.
at the time, like that's not going to help. You're playing a superhero, man. I mean, Tom Holland managed to pull it off with that umbrella performance, but that was because it was lip sync battle and he's Tom Holland. But usually you try to perpetuate the reality for people, at least while the movie is fresh. And I just thought Ezra Miller doing some of that stuff. Yeah, they're troubled. It is possible to be troubled and also bratty. And
so
It was
hot.
like-
I
like
love those pictures. Oh,
I thought it was just part of the thing, right? Like it seems that Ezra Miller has this whole, like I mentioned in my video, a David Bowie kind of androgynous thing going on for the moment. right?
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be a phase and it'll go, but at the moment, that's what's going on. So I just assumed that's it. And when the movie came out, and it was like 2017, that was a little bit, it was a little bit more sort of in your face than it would be today. And so I thought that maybe that's what's happening, just pushing boundaries. Okay,
Yeah.
fine, whatever. I didn't take anything from it, but after the choking incident, I went, eh, something's going on here because you don't just randomly choke someone in
Right.
the way that goes down.
And
And
then
yeah,
did you see the clan video he did?
oh, that was
That was
funny.
so
Okay,
weird.
I
I
knew
don't know.
something was up though. I knew something was up. Something like you don't do that unprovoked.
Well, it wasn't unprovoked. There was an attack in I forget where. And a house got burned down. But still, it just the whole video was completely, I would say, out of character. But I don't know that necessarily classifies now that we've seen what he's become, at least.
Have
I,
you have you watched many interviews? Like that's the
no.
thing because I'm not familiar with outside of that one instance with Gal Gadot where it was like I want to bash the patriarchy or something like that, whatever that was. That's pretty much the only interview I've seen. So I don't know how Ezra Miller is just talking to people kind of casually. I haven't
Well, I
watched
know
enough interviews to see
he
how,
offered to
how
show one of the interviewers his crossbow. He's like, "You want to see it?"
Yeah,
I went to what?
I don't think Ezra Miller does casual.
Yeah.
They're pretty intense.
That would be me
I
like, yo,
Yeah.
I got this crossbow, y'all. You want to see it? It's huge.
yeah, that's a little weird. And ironically, when I was reading it in Ezra Miller's voice. So I'm like, oh my God, I can imagine this happening. This is bizarre. I don't know. I hope that somebody steps in before it
Yeah.
becomes tragic because
Yeah.
this is going to escalate real quick.
I think it's already tragic because the timing was lousy, right, connected to the whole Will Smith thing. And so it's the whole double standard. If you're going to get one guy in trouble for a slap, somebody losing it in a bar and, restraining order and everything like that. Now, restraining orders aren't proof of guilt, right? But it's, I agree with Saggy. Ezra Miller career right now is not the priority. Human is the priority, and the people getting mad that we're using they them pronouns in a
I
chat.
know.
When someone is as troubled as Ezra Miller obviously is, you handle them gently and you call them what they want to be called. There's not being politically correct, and then there's just torturing someone who is already tortured, and the least we can do is just respect their pronoun choices, knowing they may change back at some point. But I just think that there is a decency element, and calling people what they want to be called is something we can all model, so we can all be called what we want to be called.
Exactly. Yeah,
As
I
opposed
don't
to, yeah.
I don't get what is so offensive about that, but that's fine. Ezra was auditioning for the Flash Smashes the Clan. Thank you so much, Chuck. Hey, I still need to review Superman Smashes the Clan. I've been saying that for like 6 months. This video is for babies. Oh, honey, then go bye-bye. It really doesn't bother me. Okay, I want to make sure we get this because tomorrow is jury selection for Amber. I'm so used to talking in my video because I have to say AH and JD. If I want to have any sort of monetization.
Yeah.
But
Really?
it's so bad. It's like I've gotten myself used to just calling them that. But tomorrow starts jury selection. Like this, I don't even know what to compare it to because so many people have been talking about this I know I've myself been talking about it for 3 years on my channel, like waiting for this day. What do you guys think the outcome is going to be? Like, I know that's a big fucking question, but like we've got weeks of this.
Mess. A big ass mess. It will not solve anything.
Fuck Amber Heard. Sorry, what?
Yeah, we know how Saggy feels, but it's a civil trial, right?
Right.
It's basically a defamation suit.
Yep.
I said this before. I thought that the trial in the UK was a bad idea.
Oh, I
are
got in
already-
trouble for that. I thought I'd tell you. They were like, why does she think it's a bad idea? She doesn't know what she's talking about. I'm like, fuck, she doesn't. Come on now. Everyone's allowed to have opinions.
Well, but also it was a bad strategy, which weakens him going into this. I think there's a stronger case because it's a direct defamation case. Him against her, there's no intermediary. It's not reasonable due diligence of the media. She wrote an opinion piece, shots fired. The question is going to be, is it a judge or jury trial? It's a judge
Jury.
trial. It is jury.
Yep.
It's all going to be about what baggage the jury comes into the room with
What would they
and
know?
who
Just
they
so-
relate to, right?
I think I'm a little out of the loop on this because I haven't followed it that closely. So this is a civil trial, a civil suit over her calling him an abuser.
Right.
Well, that's
Right.
the complicated thing. She didn't use him by name in the op-ed. She described herself as a victim of domestic violence. I forget the exact quote. She did not name him by name, but
The issue there,
it was
Liana, is they
reasonably
have the
absurd.
emails saying
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it was him.
But she didn't actually say it in the piece. That
Right.
I'm just because just some guy, he said he doesn't know what it is. I'm just making sure the facts are accurate because I don't have to preside over this trial. I just have to report the facts correctly. And she did not, in fact, name him in the piece. Now, she doesn't necessarily have to, right? It's a
Right.
question of whether she did something that was, first of all, false or that she knew didn't happen, and second of all, damaged his career. I think the damage to career is undeniable. So then we get into the defense of truth, and that's when it gets messy.
I
And
mean,
civil suit, so there's a lesser requirement for evidence.
That's right.
So
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I think we all can agree. Fuck Amber Heard. Thank you.
I knew it was coming. You know what, though? I think this time he's a lot more prepared. So when he went into the UK trial, there was a lot of, oh my God, Johnny's a druggie. Oh my God, he does drugs. Look. He fell
I
asleep
wonder
with it.
why.
But it swayed the judge. If you read the decision, the
Yeah.
judge was hyper focused on Johnny Depp's addiction, and the judge basically determined he was guilty of being an addict, therefore he must have done it.
Yes.
That was
He
the
didn't remember.
ruling. Yeah,
That's
you didn't,
bullshit.
but that was actually what the judge determined, and I thought that was kind of harsh, but that's how it works. The judge believed that the newspaper reported in good faith. That's all they had to do.
I just don't understand how after that voice call was released to the public, anyone would side with Amber. Like, how? My brain.
Because her behavior doesn't matter in the context of that trial. This is why I thought it was bad to go this way. It wasn't whether the assertion wasn't she's a domestic abuser. The question was whether he did. He was. So it doesn't matter what she did. If the judge believed he did it once, that's all that matters to protect the paper. That's it. And because he was an addict and because he blacked out and he pretty much admitted that and had moments where he acted like an abused person, kind of curled up, started self-blaming and saying, I don't remember, maybe, that did him in. And what's interesting to me is Johnny Depp suffered from markers of abuse that are still not well understood by some law enforcement and courts. And that's what's got me really worried about this case. Are we going to have a repeat of that? Or are they going to contextualize his behavior and past statements more?
I think also this time going, by the way, Saggy, watch me. I'm going to be streaming the whole thing. But, I mean, as long as it works out okay.
Oh, I see.
No, I'm just giving you shit. But Rickett is an actual lawyer. I don't know much about him. I don't care for the dude. I'm not going to lie.
But
I'm
he's
gonna
an
shut up.
actual lawyer. That's why I'm like,
Okay,
if
what
you-
kind of law, though?
Yeah, but he's got
What-
a huge
What
bias.
kind of law?
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that's also true. But I mean, at least he's still a lawyer.
I mean, okay.
know what law he practices.
Worst case scenario, well, okay, best case scenario for Johnny Depp in this. Let's take this from a PR perspective and not a court perspective, right? Say he wins. It's a split decision. So all of Amber Heard's people go, oh, but the first trial said this is just the
Right.
shitty American justice system and he can buy off the courts, right? And then his people start going, no, this was a direct one-on-one. There was no intermediary. This. You know, it settles nothing in terms of public opinion. It may give him a moral victory. It may allow him to move on and at least feel like somebody believed him, but that's about the best that he can hope for, that personal victory. In terms of image rehabilitation or anything like that, I don't think that's what it's about for him anymore. I think he's legitimately wounded and wants to clear his name. And I don't know if these circumstances it's possible to clear someone's name. Certainly not through the courts. It's the wrong venue for that.
So are you
Well,
of the
what's the
belief
damage
he
he's
should have
putting
just
in time?
stopped?
I don't think he should have brought the suit in the
That's
UK.
what I wondered. Yeah.
Personally, if I were his people, I said this before, because there's a chance you'll lose, and his reputation was already starting to repair. He was still getting some jobs. He was still getting little interesting parts, right? People had a lot of sympathy for him. In the absence of a court decision, he'd probably be further ahead in terms of image rehabilitation, just because every time Amber Heard opens her mouth, she doesn't help herself, right? She's
Right.
just unlikable. And that I realize the gender charge on that, but even by the standards of proper victim, with the image she's set herself up for, she's messy, right? Considering she herself was accused of domestic battery, not the cleanest narrative right there, right? So it's, if they just let her talk, she probably would have tripped herself up somewhere. That tape probably would have come out anywhere, and it would have been court of public opinion that would have done him better than a single judge in the UK. And right now, whatever happens in Virginia, that UK ruling isn't going away. And if Amber Heard is everything that her critics say she is, then she is an abuser who continues to abuse someone through the courts. That's not helping him get on with his life, right?
No.
Yeah.
Well, see, I guess I am one of those critics.
Yeah.
When it comes to Amber and the situation, and a lot has come out, like a massive amount of new information has come out since the UK trial. You've got, people like, well, I think Elon, there was a problem with that, but people like Elon Musk and James Franco are being, web linked. You've got the body cam, right, where she said he did all this stuff, and the body cam comes in and it's completely clean. But the pictures afterwards, you've got photos of her where she's got, the bruises on her face, but you can clearly see on her eyebrow. You know how, like, when you mess up your makeup and you got it on your eyebrow and you've got those little flakes? It's absolutely ridiculous. And then you've got the UCLA, her not donating the money, and then them coordinating this whole thing. Like,
okay, what actually happened with that? I have not been able to find something consistent on that donate, because it was supposed to be $7 million, right? And they got like one.
They got 3. Okay, I may be misremembering, so don't quote me, but I believe they did get half of it from an anonymous, aka Elon Musk, donation. So there was part of it there, but somebody correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But from what we're seeing now, nothing that she said she was giving actually went there.
So he tried to bail her out by donating money?
Basically, yeah.
So where'd the money she received from the divorce settlement go?
She said, had her lawyer come out and say that she needed the money because Johnny filed a suit. Well, she got the suit like in February, and he didn't file the suit till about 6 months later. So it was a bullshit excuse. She said, I need this money. I'm going to do it. I'm going to still donate it, but it's going to be over the next few years.
But then why, like, she should have, and this is where you start getting into credibility, right? And again, this is going to be court of public opinion, not what the ruling is, because this thing's going to be chewed on forever.
Right.
Nobody who is a victims' rights advocate believes the courts are fair to victims, male or female. It's especially jury trials. It's highly, highly subjective. It's a roll of the dice. So when you start getting into Amber Heard's credibility, the fact that she came out and said, I'm not going to take a penny. That's not the point of this. It's not about the money, because it was originally she's shaking him down for a better divorce settlement. Right? That was the original theory of the case behind accusing him of abuse. Because then they did that whole statement of, no, he didn't abuse me. And then she wrote the op-ed saying, oh, but really he actually did. And then they did another thing and it went back and forth. And now it's become a thing. If that whole, no, I'm donating it to charity was a backstop on her credibility. If that falls apart and that's appropriately argued by a good lawyer, there could be something there in terms of credibility, because she's probably going to take the stand, get up there, tell her whole sob story again. And then it's going to come down to whether the jury believes her. Now, I think the ones on the jury that are going to decide the case are the women on the jury, because women have strong feelings about this, and it's all going to be about the female jurors' baggage. So it may come down to a jury selection thing. I'm not a big believer in trial science, but it's possible this one could just be straight up. Do we know the makeup of the jury yet?
Tomorrow we'll know. And the newest thing, like a couple weeks ago, she came out and did her Hail Mary pass and said that he raped her.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It was probably less than a month ago.
God, bro.
There was part of the UK trial that was not allowed to have reporters or anything in it.
Right.
So I think that is probably the section she's talking about. But she did come out publicly and say that Johnny Depp, I believe it was in the Caribbean, raped her multiple times, and that's why she had to be quiet.
Oh my God.
It's a fucking mess. It's not just a mess, it's a fucking mess.
Why? You know what's interesting is I just pulled up the story. They didn't say he did it. They said the exact wording was the victim of assault, including rape, during and before her marriage to Depp.
Yep.
That's legal wording.
Yes, absolutely.
They're very clearly trying to dodge. So maybe there's something that they don't buy the story, but they don't want to say that.
She actually stole part of the story. Originally, they had somebody on trial in UK that used to be her personal assistant. She started asking questions. Amber did. This coming from this woman, obviously, but about her personal story about sexual assault. And then when she went to the lawyers, the personal assistant came to find out it was her fucking story.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, even the original Washington Post story, it's the same issue of wording.
Yep.
Right. And this is why it's not a judge trial. So, but a public figure, what is it? It's very weird wording. A public figure representing domestic abuse. That's very weird wording.
They're talking about Amber Heard?
That's what Amber Heard called herself in the Washington Post op-ed that started this whole shitstorm.
Yes. Well, obviously, she didn't write that. Some lawyer wrote that for her.
Or she did, and this is part of the this is part of the pattern, right? It's people tend to not outright lie, so they do sidestep things like this, right?
That's such a weird way to do it. I mean, I would understand if it were a lawyer doing it, because they're trying to sort of circumvent, just in case something's not entirely true. They're not committing to one thing. But if she did it, I mean, it does read like a tell. Like, are
Yeah,
you
yeah.
claiming that this didn't happen and you're just not willing to admit it? Like, it's a weird thing to do. I don't
It
understand that.
it is somebody unlying. And these are the things when I used to do journalism full time, these are the sort of things you looked for in statements. Like she talks about she flat out says she was sexually assaulted by the time I was of college age. Right? Okay. So there's sexual assault in her background. And then the wording starts. I mean, she is an indirect writer, but that's a level of indirection that I calls into question. Like, it would be much easier to accept her statement if it was just he assaulted me, right? She didn't say that.
Right.
That
in
is
and around the marriage and in
yeah.
before.
Yeah, so did somebody else assault her? I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean,
Well, it makes
can
sense
be
to
read
bring
like
up.
that. That's the weird thing is that it's
Whole
worded in
thing's
such an
weird.
odd way that there's no way to pin down who she's
Yeah.
talking about.
and when these sorts of things are examined and it becomes a question of credibility and so on and so forth, that this stuff does matter, whether people are direct, whether people are saying things in clear, unequivocal fashions, or whether they are trying to get cute, because that certainly suggests that she didn't feel confident coming right out and saying the thing the public took for him, right? It really depends how the jury treats that. To me, it's compelling, but that's the
it's
way I look
telling.
at things. Yeah, and that's the thing. Because I kind of feel bad for male members of the jury because there's all that baggage being a man on this, on a trial like this, especially when you get into deliberations. I think they're going to take certain cues from women's experiences, and you're going to get certain women who are, fuck Amber Heard. You're going to get a saggy
Damn
in
right.
in the deliberations room going, no, this stinks. I know, women don't talk this way. Real victims don't talk this way. Whether it's true or not, people have those very strong opinions. And because this is a jury trial, those opinions, what the emotional takeaway from the trial is what's going to determine this. So expect this trial to be a proverbial bloodbath. It is going to get ugly. It is going to get charged. It is going to get really below the belt. It's going to be part defamation trial, part like divorce court, right? Because these two have not settled their issues.
No,
I think,
and this isn't the way to do it.
Right. And I think like, yeah, I'm wondering like, I hate saying it. I really hate saying it, but it's like, if there are more women on that jury than there are men, it ain't gonna look good for Johnny. I'm not gonna lie, because I mean, I don't think so. I think because like what it is, like, women are gonna want to emphasize with the woman, right? They're gonna try to emphasize with the woman. I do feel like it's gonna. My biggest fear with this is there's gonna be a bias, and I think.
It's
Johnny Depp, but it's still, it's like
Johnny Depp though.
But it's a guy.
I don't know.
I
When is someone who's famous that, and particularly somebody who's generally liked, like Depp is, outside of people following the trial, most people probably don't know anything about it. So their opinion of him, he's a quirky actor, and that's probably
But women are always gonna want to emphasize with the woman, and that's my fear, because they're the women like me, right, who are like real equality. Like, if I hit a man, I expect to get hit, right? That's equality. I'm all for equality. But we live in a world where quote feminism is all bullshit, and it is, and it pisses me off, because this is why I hate Amber Heard, and this is why I get heated, because like, she is the reason why, like, women are always, they walking on, men walk on eggshells around women because of women like that. Like,
it's not
I'm sorry,
just that, it fucks with real victims more than even that.
That too,
it
hurts
fucks with real victims. It's the
Exactly.
situation of there's been so many fabricated that one that's true. People are gonna be like, I don't know about that. Even when it came to the Marilyn Manson stuff, and I don't know, I haven't been covering or following that near as much as some of the other channels. But even when it came to that one, I'm like, whoa, he's a horrible person. Then I look into it and I'm like, whoa, These
Well,
women
both
are horrible.
both can be true.
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely. They're not
Yeah.
mutually exclusive.
I
It's
mean,
just weird situations when you can't believe because you fucked up for all the
Right.
real victims.
I mean, we going back for that sort of feminism versus women thing, only 19% of American women describe themselves as very feminist.
Right.
wow.
So
And
you
feminists
got
attack
that
women.
somewhat. Yeah, and so just because there's women on the jury doesn't mean they're automatically going to believe Amber Heard. They could have someone in their life who was falsely accused. They could resent the high profile nature. There's a lot of women who are victims of sexual abuse and domestic battery and didn't say anything and think that you shouldn't make it this high profile. So
Mhm.
I mean, it's a risk for both of them. I really think it is. It's going to be scorched earth and it's going to be zero sum because at this point, this is what defines both of them.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a fight to the death, right?
Virginia? I'm sorry.
Well,
Did
sorry,
you
what's
say-
that, just some guy?
Was it going to be in Virginia?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in Virginia.
Yeah, it's in Virginia. It
Yeah,
just
it might
scares
lean
me.
a little bit more towards because that tends to be a more conservative area of
Yes.
the country.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that depending on the type of women they get, if it's your typical conservative woman, it might not go as well for Heard if it comes
Mhm.
off if they hear the stuff that you're talking about and that jury reads it that way, they'll probably want to punish her. So it
Right.
depends on
Yeah.
how it's presented and how good Johnny Depp's lawyers are in cross-examining whatever is put up. Because if they don't get it, that's it.
I agree with just some guy. I think there's going to be at least one woman on the jury wanting to believe him, and they're going to look
Right.
for any permission structure to do it.
I
just
hope
because,
so.
yeah, he is a big actor, but also Amber Heard has a problem with stank face. If you've ever watched her with anything,
Yes.
you know what I'm talking
It's
about.
Like
though.
Mandy
Big
Lane.
face.
Oh.
Yeah, people watch
Fuck Amber
the
Heard.
people that are supposed to be the victims. And as long as Johnny Depp keeps that Johnny Depp pout on his face and Amber Heard does her whole like she looks like she has gas all the time, juries are going to pick up on that. And she is quite reactive when she gets in these situations. She needs to be seen, she needs to be looked at, she needs to call attention to herself. And that could backfire on her in a jury trial.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I think it's just like I said. It sucks because we don't know. Like we're speculating. Like I said, I really want Johnny to win. I think that you don't see many cases like this where the woman is the abuser and stuff like that. Like I don't see many cases like that. At least this public, right? I really want him to win because first of all, I believe he is the victim. I will say that right straight up. I 100% believe he is the victim in this. And even if, like, for the sake of argument, say he put his hands on her, he only did it in self-defense. That is how I see it because I know I've seen women like Amber Heard. They think that that because they're smaller and because it doesn't hurt that they can put their goddamn hands on a man. And that shit pisses me off because like it doesn't matter if you physically are hurting him. The mental abuse that comes with that is what matters. Like you like hurting people mentally, in my opinion, I'd rather somebody stab me than men mentally mess with me. You know what I'm saying? Like it kills me that anyone defends her. Oh well,
Right.
he could take it. He's a man. No. He shouldn't have to take it. I want him to win. I want him to take her career from her and make her suffer like he had to suffer when he was the victim. And this whole thing, bullshit. It's bullshit.
I would love this thing to resolve and get into a greater conversation about addiction and how addiction is used in the abuse cycle, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know how much backstory you guys know about Johnny Depp's mother, but early life priming to be sort of vulnerable to this sort of thing, abuse by women. It starts with relationships with the mother and so on and so forth. I mean, he was an addict at a very young age. The
Yeah.
amount of alcohol and other substances that were being brought into their shared residence by her and her friends were just patently irresponsible around someone who has that struggle with addiction. That is a big thing for me that has, I think, gotten lost in this whole focus on the violence of addicts are people. And it was so tragic to see the stigma against addiction in the original judge's ruling, because if someone can't help that struggle, right? So if she's bringing in wine and having all these parties and doing that sort of thing, what
That's
does that
beyond
say?
enabler.
Yeah, and there's this belief that he's so much older than her, therefore he has all the power. Not necessarily so, right? It just that's an assumption we
Wait,
can't
say that
make.
one more time. I missed
Well,
that part. That he's
the
older, so he has all the
one of
power.
one of the arguments I have heard is that he was so much older than her. So he clearly had more power than her. He's
No,
a
that's
bigger
That,
star. I
yeah.
don't think, yeah,
yeah, right. Yeah, that's a crazy argument.
I
I
don't
actually
think
have a
that's an
question.
assumption. Yeah.
Well, I heard this the other day, and it actually sat with me, and I don't know how to take it, so I'm gonna ask you guys: if this trial goes through, everything's over, Johnny wins, just a big if,
Mm-hmm.
is it a win for victims' rights or
No.
men's rights?
Neither.
It's just him.
That's, yeah.
It's just him, because
Just- yeah.
no one's looking at this from a perspective of like, oh, this is what male victims go through. It's really about Johnny Depp and how his reputation and his career has basically been destroyed. And if this woman is, manipulating everyone or lying or, exaggerating everything, look at how easily this got played on him. That's pretty much the only angle that's going to be. Someone might try to take it and apply it to male victims, and hopefully if it turns out that she's abusive, it certainly looks like that's the case.
Right.
That someone can make that argument and show this is what happens, and look at what this guy who has all this money and presumably all this power at his disposal, look at how easily he was taken down with an accusation like that. Now imagine what happens to men who don't have that, and they have an accusation made against them. It plays out far worse. It could do that, but I doubt it. I think it's probably going to get a little bit of news, and then he'll go about his day. I don't know if he's going to be able to resurrect his career. She probably will still get work, to be perfectly honest, unless she's
And that's
completely
the
psycho and
problem.
sick.
And the
And that-
DCU.
That's the fucking problem. Excuse
Mhm.
my French, but that's the problem. Is like
Yep.
his career was done before this all, and she was still doing fine. And that's sad but true. I'm telling you right now, if she's still playing friggin' whatever Mira,
Mira?
if she's still playing Mira
terrible
after
in that part.
if she loses this case and she's still playing that character, fuck DC2. Dead
Okay,
ass.
am I just the only one who thinks she's terrible in that part? Like
I
everything else
thought
is
she
fine?
was good. I thought she did a
Okay.
good job. Even with my bias, I thought she did a decent job as Mira. Now, I wish they would do this. They're doing 2 right now. Ideally, I would like to see them just kill her off and bring in Dolphin or something. But, that's just me.
I just hated her so much in the original movie, and that was
I
with
hated
all
her in the
this
Snyder
aside.
cut.
Yeah, I didn't. It was
It
that
had an
Oh, I
accent.
hated seeing her too. I hated seeing her in the Snyder Cut. I was like, why? Why is she still getting work? Why is she?
Why does she
here?
have a British accent all of a sudden?
Well, because Arthur Curry was originally British, wasn't he? But or they
I don't
they
remember.
changed
Maybe.
it.
I
They
don't
changed
know.
it.
I
I don't
guess-
remember. Somebody explained that to me and I forgot. But the thing is that scene in Aquaman where she's on the surface and she's supposed to be all amazed at everything that's going on. She did not sell that for me, and I thought that was central to when you know what Mara's story is and you know what she goes through. There has to be that core of innocence, so everything that else happens is contextualized, right? And that's not there. And so I just didn't like, she was cast because of the way she looks. She looks like that Adam Hughes Mara drawing. That's the only reason she was
Yeah,
cast.
she
It was not
does.
because of her performance. And it drives me fucking insane when they do that. Because Jason Momoa doesn't have to be blonde, right? But nobody complains that they race swapped Aquaman. Dude's Polynesian, right?
Or
But
or Roz or
women,
Bane or
He's
any of
white
them.
passing.
women are just cast strictly for looks in those movies, except for Gal Gadot, who I thought was too skinny, but actually played the part really, really well.
Yeah.
She's the exception. Everybody else just cast for looks, and I'm like, it drives me nuts.
I'm
So
Yeah,
done.
I didn't care that much
Go
for her
ahead.
performance, but I didn't pay much attention to her because I was trying to find if there was a plot in the movie that I could care
Yeah, no
about.
kidding. Thank you. Okay, somebody else didn't like Aquaman. Thank you. Oh my god.
I liked the movie for just pure entertainment value, but for story, I'm like, I'm lost. I'm like, you're
Yeah.
jumping around from thing to thing. You keep world building, but you don't sit on anything long enough to make it interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I did. Everybody I know loved that movie. I did not love that movie.
maybe
I
going
I
does.
liked it.
wait. It was
But
a movie. It had a story. I was just I fucking Jason Momoa the whole time. I didn't.
I
There was a
liked
plot.
it.
There's an actual
But
story in the movie.
I don't like muscles, so that movie had nothing for me.
Oh, Jason Momoa can get it. Sorry, I'm sorry. What were we talking about?
I told people that was why nobody cared that about the Switch is because of Big Sexy. See,
Yep.
it just proving my point. Is
I
Big
mean,
Sexy is on screen? Nobody cares if they race swapped him
I mean, yeah.
To be
it's
fair,
Jason
he kind
Momoa.
of made Aquaman cool again. Like,
Okay, so
again.
we have
There
to
was the
test
first
that.
time.
yeah,
though.
that would infer that there was a
Just
first
took
time, right?
that. I thought the same thing. I was like,
We-
when was Aquaman ever cool?
That's fair. That's fair.
No, he was cool in the DC the Justice League cartoons when they went with the old school Aquaman. That's when Aquaman started to become cool.
And in Injustice, he was cool in Injustice.
Okay, Aquaman fighting Aquaman in Injustice is my favorite part of
It was
Injustice.
awesome. Yeah,
So
I'm not
that was
gonna
my
lie.
favorite. That was my favorite scene in the whole freaking thing.
Was I
Oh,
too
it was
sexist
good.
when I said I was I fucking Jason Momoa? Because I felt very sexist, and I don't care. I actually don't apologize.
No, you're good.
I don't apologize
now-
anyways. It's Jason Momoa.
Okay, now I want to do science because I want to see if you can race swap a female character, but cast an actress with a giant rack and like fuck me pout and see if people still freak out.
I mean,
No.
I'm
No.
pansexual.
Yeah,
I
woman.
like a big
Yeah.
rack. I like a big rack. What's the story we're talking about?
See, we now have found the zone for me and Saggy. Like now we're there. It's a stream now. So we
I'm
are getting
easy, yo.
sweaty.
You put something nice in front of my eyes. You got my sale.
Yeah, see that's the thing is now I have to test this theory because people say stuff about all these swaps and why certain ones work and why certain ones don't. And I do think in part it's true with just some guys saying that people like to look at Jason Momoa and so people didn't get too upset. But I do think though people are not as invested in Aquaman as
Yeah,
they are.
that's my
Yeah.
main reason for that is that no one
Yeah.
really cares about that character. But they've
Yeah.
done this with other characters. They did this with Lawrence Fishburne and Perry White.
Yep.
And that got a little bit of pushback initially, but everybody likes Lawrence Fishburne, so they're like, okay. As long as they like the actor, usually it gets a little bit of a pass. The one that I can think of where it really pissed people off, and I was one of them, was casting Idris Elba as Roland Deschain in The Dark Tower, because
Yeah,
the
that a lot of
character
people
is
got upset.
described as looking exactly like Clint Eastwood.
That's right.
So like we're done. Go get Scott Eastwood, his son, who looks exactly like him, and cast him. We're done. So that was like a weird one, but nobody had a problem with Idris Elba. So that was just kind of weird. But that movie ended up just being a mess anyway. So
Well, it created a
but,
domino effect in some of the themes. I mean, that was one that I actually saw I understood the complaints. Like there's actually things in the text that relate to race and racial power and all that stuff. And it's like, what are they? You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I don't know what they were trying to do, because initially they were saying that they were going to do this as a series of movies, and then they were going to jump to the TV show and sort of like interconnect these two because of just how much story you have to tell in the Dark Tower series. My first thought though is that you got the kid. He's like 12 in the book. And this whole thing takes place over the course of, I mean, time is all messed up, but essentially he ages maybe a year.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you gonna get around that? They kind of have to do this with the Walking Dead show with the boy, where he's aging And
Mhm.
the show is going on way longer. They did this with Game of Thrones, where in the book that Joffrey's 12, right? So it's like there are all these little weird things they would have to do. And then
Yeah.
they decided to like cram all 7 books into one movie in like a 2-hour long movie. I'm like,
Well,
okay, you just give it up.
Sansa's like 13 in the books too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
these
I,
characters are much younger than they are in the show.
Game of Thrones, the TV show, messed with me a lot. And I think that was actually the moment I checked out in taking this stuff too seriously was Game of Thrones, because it just broke me after season like 2. I just
Was it
couldn't.
all the characters getting taken out randomly?
Yeah, it played on your heartstrings. I mean, Jason Momoa in that show really confused my sexuality a lot. So yeah, I mean, I had to
I think
rediscover my
it's
sexuality.
I think
To
it's
me,
funny when people complain about the race swaps, but don't like, it's not comic accurate, but neither is the Batmobile, neither is the Batsuit. Like, it's
Mhm.
always with the race thing, but it's never with anything else. It's
The
you
Batman complaints. That's been an issue for many years. Is like Batman is always in this black leather stuff instead of the black and gray, or the blue and gray, which is what people really
blue
want
and
to
gray
see.
would be nice.
It would, but it kind of doesn't. I
Doesn't
guess
make
you
sense.
could make it work, but it's a little weird. Batman's a strange character where the more you try to make him realistic, like if you see the costume, he looks serious. He looks silly.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
it's hard to make it not look silly, and they try their best, and they usually succeed when they don't have him in light. But the moment you see the costume, you're like, eh.
Mhm.
Let me get the super chat, guys. Thank you so much, Jaden West. And visually, Aquaman was good in terms of cinematography.
Oh yeah, it looked beautiful.
Yeah, oh, beautiful. The
It looked
water. Oh god, it looked
I-
great.
I consider that effects, not cinematography. That's special
Yeah,
effects.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. It's
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
like animating a movie at this
That-
point.
that- yeah, that's just me being nitpicky, but I have to keep it straight in my head because cinematography is a skill. And it's not that. A lot, like huge portions of that movie were green screen.
Right.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
probably my biggest pet peeve with the superhero films, is that so much of it is no longer they're not even doing anything,
Yeah.
for real. They're not building sets. At bare minimum, do that because it helps with the performance. This is one of the reasons why Dune was, in my opinion, a really good movie that I knew was not going to end the way I wanted it to. Like, oh, there's got to be another one. I can just
Mhm.
feel it. But the reason why it seemed to work is because they built the sets.
Yeah.
And so the actors have something to look at that puts them in the moment, and
Right.
it adds to their performance. And when you take that away from them and they're just on these green screens and these mocap suits and they're fighting dudes in gimp suits and they're trying to pretend here's like 40 other people here, it's like it just kills your performance. Even Ian McKellen couldn't do it. And he's a fantastic actor. He was going to quit The Hobbit because they had him acting on the green screen by himself.
You know who was a great green screen actor in his day, and this is going to be so unpopular because of what he's like now, is Kevin Sorbo. He
It's
was
true.
known as one of the best green screen actors in the business because he could just sell it. Some people can, right? Some people are really good on the green screen, but it is its own thing.
It's a
And
mime kind of thing, isn't it? Like if you're really good at miming and sort
yeah,
of imagining that there's something else there
to me it's
and
more if
maintaining your eye line,
if you've done a lot of like independent black box theater, it helps because then you have no budget for sets or props or anything like that. Yeah, it's its own skill. Direction also has a lot to do with it. Oh god, that wasn't a criticism. That was just me being particular because I like to talk about this stuff. It's don't worry about it, Jaden. No,
Thank you, Jaden.
It's always funny to me when people are like, "Oh my god!" Like, no. This is dialogue. It's good. But yeah, I'm glad nobody flipped out about the Kevin Sorbo thing. I must really confuse the people who were like coming
like,
at me
who?
hard earlier. But oh my god, I said something good about Kevin Sorbo. Ah, yeah.
Oh my goodness. So okay, we're gonna wrap up, guys. Thank you so much. Saggy, what do you have going on your channel this week?
I got a stream, I believe at 10. I gotta find topics. I have no idea what we're talking about tonight with my co-host. Yeah, and Yeah, nothing really. Nothing really. But no, this is
Sounds
fun. This is
super fun.
great. Thank you for having me. It was nice meeting just some guy who was quiet because he's busy in Elden that
Elden
awesome
Ring.
that game that I refuse to play because I hate Dark Souls.
Acceptable explanation for me.
But yeah, that's all I got.
What about you, Liana?
I actually have a video tomorrow. I'm starting a series called Manly Mondays, and I'm sure I'll get some heat because
Ooh.
of the people who are mad at me today. Tomorrow's really going to confuse them because of the assumptions they made. But yeah, talking about internalized expendability and what to do about it and how to sort of step beyond it. I started this last week based on fan feedback, and last week worked really, really well. And so I've got this massive list of topics that people want me to cover. If I can get around to it, I'm also going to do a video this week on words that no longer have meanings. So
Ooh.
that, and then of course, Wellness Wednesday. I don't know what the topic's going to be about Wellness Wednesday yet. I'm waffling between like 3 or 4. So if anybody has any suggestions right now, I'm open to taking them.
I like the words that have no meaning. Every time I talk about that when it comes to my channel, people are like, "Oh my god, no, you're just misinterpreting." No. There's certain words that have no meaning whatsoever anymore.
Yeah.
And one of them is woke, SJW, all of that
Yep.
crap.
Yep.
Literally,
Yeah, so,
that's the one that drives me
That
nuts.
is on the list. All of these are on the list.
Anything with a gay person or a person of color is woke. Come on,
Woke.
guys.
It's woke. I'm woke because I'm black and I'm pansexual. I'm 100% woke, y'all.
You are super woke. What about you? Just some guy. What do you have going on your channel this week?
I don't know because I haven't done anything but play Elden Ring. So
You're doing it right.
At least stream
That's
it.
right.
Jeez.
oh no, I don't have the patience to set all that up. Plus, I'm on a PS4, so I genuinely don't know how to do that.
Oh,
But
you do it straight
also,
from the PS4.
but the amount of swearing that comes out of my mouth when I'm playing this game,
Do it on Twitch.
I've already been
I
told by
yeah.
by the people here that little ears are hearing those words, and now they're coming out with little mouths. So I've had to clean up the language while I'm
Oh,
getting my
no.
ass kicked.
That's
And
impossible. That's
it's
impossible.
so
I'm sorry,
hard.
no.
Well, do
Yeah.
it on Twitch and put a disclaimer. I am going to say not so kid-friendly words. Please let the children go to bed before you tune in.
Oh no, I have someone who's already done it for me. There's this guy named I think it's Afro Sinzu. He's a YouTuber and he plays this game and loses his shit, and it is
Okay,
awesome.
but it's violence on screen. If it's already an M-rated game, who cares if you're swearing?
But there needs to be something coherent, just from me.
No,
I need.
I like creative stream of consciousness swears. It's one of the things I live for.
Yeah, it's frustrating though. I mean, I almost lost my voice last week screaming at this damn game.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not a big YouTuber where I have to worry about people listening to me swear and cuss on my streams because their kids are in the room.
Oh, I swear all the time. Is just there's a decorum to the way that I like to do it, and this was just me giving a cuss show. So
No, but it's a From Software game. That dual ape fight in Sekiro, I created new words that I think released some demon from an alternate reality. They were so spicy. It's incredibly frustrating, those games.
I really didn't know because I've got Bloodborne. I played maybe like 20 minutes. So I had no idea what I was in for. And some of the harder bosses I knew were going to be hard. So I was very calm. But I also stayed up until like 7 o'clock in the morning playing this game before. So
The one thing I will say, it kicks your ass, but the community around the From Software games is phenomenal because everybody has been through the same pain.
yes.
And that's part of the thing that keeps bringing me back to From Software games is the other players are just so cool and nice and they'll help. And I thought people were gonna, oh, you suck, all that stuff. But no, they were really like, no, you just got to keep at it, keep trying. I'm like, I love this community.
Yeah, that's another thing that I thought was kind of interesting because the game allows people to leave messages, and so people are actually doing that. So it's interesting playing a game where it's like I don't know where to go. Oh, look, there's that ghost going in the right direction, or people leave notes. So it's fun. It's interesting. I might do a review of it after I finish it, but I'm gonna have to I guess watch somebody else's videos to find out what the damn story is, because I don't know what is happening.
Oh, yeah, I'm answering Saggy. Okay, everywhere community. Thank you. I watched Smokey and the Bandit as a kid and didn't cuss. I try not to too, but make sure you guys. Tomorrow we will be doing jury selection, so I'll be live at 9:45. That should be interesting. I'm gonna see how it goes. But yes, we are gonna wrap up. Make sure you guys check. All the channels are in the description. Everybody's in there, so you can check everybody out, and we will see you next time. Bye bye.